This material is made available to you by or on behalf of the University of Melbourne under Section 113P of the Copyright Act 1968. It may be subject to copyright. For more information, visit the University Copyright website.
Yeah, that's great. I think I'll give exactly the same answer to sorry, what's your name? Ricky, yeah, to Ricky. And apparently Ricky also has his answer to these questions. Yes, I think maybe supply. I mean, maybe in Box Hill there are more two-bedroom supply in Box Hill, and that makes the rent lower. I mean, the reason why I mentioned here about this issue is that it is good. Or this is the way I expect to see while you doing your project or doing your assessment or over your learning experience. Is like you just first you find out what's the unique information you can find from the data, and try to find an answer or your explanation to it. And then maybe you can find other evidence to prove your argument or prove your hypothesis. For example, as we all mentioned, okay, the supply in Box Hill is more than in Blackburn. Then probably we can try to find some data or statistics to see whether exactly the situation, whether it is the truth. Okay, I mean that is how we develop our question or topic, and how we develop our method of the analysis to address the topic. Okay. Then in today's lecture, we are going to mainly cover these four aspects. First, I would like to talk about the hedonic model, which is most widely used in the real estate sectors. And then probably we can know some knowledge about housing demand, which is all the one issue in regard to housing demand, that's housing affordability. And then we will have a briefing of the data and one type of data, which is cross-sectional data. And before we start, maybe I can go back to the poll and see whether we have received any response. Okay. Affordability, housing affordability. Okay. This is what I found. If you just type the Google, that's the Google, or one is Google Scholar. So that's the which is mainly for the academic journal papers. So if I type housing, it will automatically suggest the something. It's like a housing market, housing policy, housing prices, bubble, affordability, crisis, and also if I type property, is in regard with wise tax management. So this can give you some idea what the property and housing are talking about. So, and you may also use this as a reference to think about your topic for your assignment 2, and also for the following assignment 3 and assignment 4. So think about, start to think about what you are interested in about what topic you are going to explore in the real estate or in the housing or property sector. And today we are talking in regard with the housing price. There are several methods we explore the movement or the behavior of housing prices or housing market. One of the mostly widely used is the hedonic model. And before we go into the hedonic model, maybe we can spend a little bit time on the concept of value and the product. So we know in regard to a product, we will have a value. Why a good or a product will have a value? And these are the 4 basic factors that make things have a value. The first one is utility. So it's like the thing or the product must be useful to us or to a group of people. For example, computer, we can use the computer to do homework, to watch videos, and the chairs, we can use the chair to relax. So if something is useless to everyone, to people, it won't have any value. And the second factor is the scarcity, which means the supply must be limited. So, for example, air. That's a very common example. So the air, we breathe air. We know the air is useful to us. However, we don't have to pay for breathing the air because they are ultimate. So the supply of air is not scarcity. There are plenty of airs on the earth for people or for human beings or for the creatures to breathe. Okay, and however, maybe this situation will change after decades, right? So we are talking about maybe climate change, right? So nowadays we are talking probably we have to pay for emission carbon into the air and destroy the fresh air, etc., or destroy the climate. And the third factor is a desire. So that means that means people really want the product. Okay, so maybe your product is useful, is limited. However, when you produce, after you producing it, no one wants it, or maybe you are too advantage of the time, right? So, or maybe it's out of the time. I think maybe the fourth one is the effective purchasing power. So that is indicates the capacity, of people's purchasing or people's affordability. So that means the price must be accepted by the potential buyers. So if we say we price a cell phone like $10,000, maybe it cannot be afforded by most of people, and since no one can afford it, no one will buy it, and then this kind of product is no value on the market. And these four factors, the first two factors, they just indicate the supply side, and while the third and the fourth factor, which reflect the information from the demand side. And then how, once we have known the factor that create the value, so how does the market determine the value? So it's like, okay, we know this cell phone has a value, so then how much will it be sold on the market? One method is a hedonic model. So as indicated by the definition is that a hedonic model is a model of product differentiation based on the hedonic hypothesis that the goods are valued for their utility-bearing attributes or characteristics. So, and this model is proposed by Rosen in 1974. So, simply speaking, is that if we say PM indicates the market price, then we argue that the price is a function of the utility of a product, and furthermore, we decompose the product into different attributes or characteristics. For example, maybe we will decompose the product based on their parts, right? So, for example, a house, we may say, okay, we can value the house based on its single parts, like the window, the door, the ceilings, the walls, the lines, etc. And we give a price for each attribute or each part, and then we combine or integrate them together to reflect a price for the aggregate product or for the product as a whole. So that's the basic idea of a hedonic model. Then the theory is also based on the market equilibrium, which we mentioned last week. So it's like on the supply side, so on the demand side, it's like how we decide or how we find out how much the potential buyer or the consumers would like to spend. There are still some basic concepts. One is a theory of substitution. So just think about assuming that we have money, and we are going to buy some houses, and the process with buying houses actually is a substitution between money and house. We make a decision whether we should substitute the money by the house, or we prefer to keep money rather than having a house. So, for example, at one circumstance, we will have $4 million and one house. And or we have $2 million, but we have two houses. And or maybe we would like to have $1 million, but here are three houses. So this is we make a decision on the process of substitution. So which one we prefer to, or and assume we will be the same satisfaction in any of the three situations. So that means that is the indifference curve. So that means you are the same happiness, or you are the same satisfaction, while you have $4 million, one house, $2 million, two houses, or $1 million and three houses. So you are totally the same. You are feel the same happy. You feel the same way the satisfied. And then based on this, we can calculate the marginal rate of substitution. So here you can find when you forgive $2 million and get one more houses, the marginal rate of substitution is 2. While you getting additional house, will forgive more money, the marginal rate of substitution is 1. That means in the indifference curve, the marginal rate of substitution declined. So that is which I think is a common situation. Of course, there was some extreme situation, which is where the indifference curve is not a curve, but a straight line. That means you the marginal or the MRS maintain the same level. However, in the realistic, we normally assume the marginal rate of substitution decline. So one example I think is like how many guys doing the online shopping? Yeah. So do you know how much money you spend annually on eBay or maybe Taobao? So you just think about your shopping behavior. So it's like when you first buy something, you will do a comprehensive comparison. Right? You, for example, you are going to buy a cell phone. Right? You will find several brands like Apple, Huawei, Samsung, or other brands, and then you will think about the price, their functions, their qualities, and then you, once after a very detailed research, you will make your decision. Okay, I will go for Apple, right? And then probably on the second time, you won't think that too much. And the more you buy, the less you think. So that's why I know lots of, for example, my wife, she has a collection of shoes, and some of them I even never wear. So it's like she feels the same happy, okay? And as the more she buys, the marginal rate substitution is lower, and then they won't feel the she won't feel the process of substitution. They just feel, okay, I'm happy. I'm just spending money for shoes, or giving up the money by having more shoes. So, and I'm the same happy. So that is one theory from the consumer behavior. Okay, that's how we act when we make a decision on purchasing something. However, these substitutions, these substitutions, they all occurs in the same in the same level, right? And if you want to be more happier, what you can do? So maybe you have to push the curve far from the originality. So that means you have to spend more money, or you have to think about what is your budget. So, I mean, in this picture, or in this situation, is that your budget is $5 million. Okay, and that makes you can only have like 4 horses, and you can make any decision under this budget restriction line. So all this point you can do because you afford it. However, any activity or behavior above the line, you can't do it. Even you know, okay, I will be much happier if I have $4 million and 4 horses. However, just because it's out of your budget, you will never achieve this. Okay? And within this budget, the best option you will do is this point, where the budget just match the in one indifference curve, where here in this situation is that you have $2 million and 2 horses. So this is the optimization for your purchasing behavior. I mean, although that's theoretically, that's the optimal option or optimal decision you should make. Again, because at this level you have the highest satisfaction level and within the budget constraints. Okay? And this is how the market, all the demand market, make the determine the price or suggest the price. That's the bid price. So in the hedonic model, is that we assume that the utility of a product can be expressed by this function. Okay, so it's like we again decompose the product into different parts or into different characteristics, and we assume each part have their own utility. So the customer will make their decision about how much money they're gonna bid for single utility or characteristics based on the utility based on their income or budget, and based on the different characters. So then we assume that the income at a certain level of income and a certain level of satisfaction, we will choose the price where the bid price is just to match the market price. So that's the price for the product, and this for a single characteristics. Okay, so in this function, we assume except z1, other variables, they are constant. And then we can draw a line or a curve in this picture, and then they will have a joint point, and this is the price for attribute z1 in a product, and we apply this to other attributes. Eventually, we can get the price for the bid price for the whole product or for the aggregate product, and that is how the hedonic model works from the consumer side or from the demand side. Yes?
Based on this, the utility is not, it's just plateauing sort of as you add more properties to the product. So as the utility goes more,
yeah,
the curve, the price is not going.
Which
not going
curve?
straight.
This one or this?
Yeah, the one above.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that? Like, can we just make such an innovative product that the price just keeps going high and
yes,
exponentially?
Actually, this curve is not the price for the whole product. It's just for the Z. For example, maybe if we see a house, right? So this curve is just about the price, and maybe we see a quantity of glasses. Okay, so it's like if the house, if the house contains more glasses, then the house, the price for the glasses is going up. So we are just talking about the price for one part in a certain product. It's not the, so here the price, the PM, the price here, the PM is a price for a single attribute. It's not the price for the whole product. Okay, so it's like we're gonna decide. Okay, for example, a house may value $1 million. Then how much money we will spend for its glasses? For example, maybe for the high-rise building, or maybe a very fashion design houses, they use a lot of glasses. Maybe you spend like maybe $20,000 or $30,000 out of 1 million, or maybe 30%. That's the idea of this curve. While this curve is the customers from all the consumers' perspective. It's like how much money they would like to pay, or they are willing to pay for the glasses in the house. For example, if I'm a fashion guy, I really like the sunshine, the bright environment, maybe I would like to pay more for a house contain more glasses, right? Or if I'm just an old guy, I want quiet, I just want be safe, and thinking more about the security, then probably I won't. I maybe just pay a small proportion of small amount of money on these single parts or for glasses in this example. Okay, so that's why I say, okay, in this we assume except that one other variables are constant. So the only variable in these two functions are z1. Even this one, we assume the u or the utility or the satisfaction level is constant, is fixed, and the income is fixed. So it's like this. Then we can decide the price for a single elements or for a single attributes. So I mean here probably you don't have to think too much. Or if you want more information, I'll upload some papers on the LMS. You can find more details. However, here I just want you guys just have a general idea or general feeling how the model works. Okay. Can we move on? All right. So then we the hedonic model also discussed from the production or the seller's perspective, and in this for this perspective is that it depends on the profit. So it's like a producer. They are willing to optimize the design of product to maximize their profit. Again, that is the price for the product, and that is the cost of the product, and they will choose the optimal combination of these attributes to make the profit, to make the highest profit, or maybe if the price is constant, it's just to make the lowest cost. Okay, so see, there is like a balance between the customer and the producer. Okay, so it's like, for example, if I would like to pay more of the glasses, however, the glasses cost too much, or maybe the profit is too low, then in that case, even most of the customers, they want the houses containing a lot of glasses. The producer may not produce the products. I mean, that's, and again here, so in the hedonic model, we assume that at a certain profit level, so the producer are willing to pay less for alternative products to provide the same level of utility. And this explains, I mean, how the producer make a decision about producing all the input price for a product. And again, I just want you guys maybe can think about whether there was similar indifference levels for the producer's perspective. Or is there any similar restrictions like the budget? So maybe you can find out by yourself at home, and then we can discuss more on the tutorial or after class. Because because of the time limit, we are not going to expand this part on the lecture. And also, you can find more explanation in the supplement ready. And finally, I mean, once the supplier and the consumer they find the balance point, then it comes to the market price. So where the buyers and sellers perfectly match each other. Okay, so how does it model? How can this model be applied in the property? So normally is that we when we explore or analyze the house price, we adopt the hedonic model. Okay. For example, this is research what I did for a retirement village. So it's like I just want to find out how does each of the elements in a retirement village will contribute to their market price. So basically what I did, first I just decompose the village into different, all the units in a retirement village into different sectors. Okay, normally the house structure, land, location, and neighborhood. And then I try to break down each sectors into single elements. For example, in this situation, I use number of bedroom, bathroom, a garage, and private gardens to represent the house structure. And I use the distance to the CBD to indicate the location. Because, I mean, in a village, you doesn't own the land. So here I have no elements for the land, but I have some elements to represent the neighborhood, like the cinema, the community center, gym, library, or high-speed broadband to indicate some like the soft environment. And then I run the regression model to get these results. So where it's like we can calculate how much a bathroom can contribute to the market price. So it's like, for example, in my research is $67,000, and however, the private garden may drop down the market price of a retirement village. So this is how I applied the hedonic model in my research into the house price. And from this example, or from the results, what we can find out directly is that how does each attribute contribute to market price. And if we think one more step further, then here is that I'm just comparing my results with the current supply level. So for example, here we see the medical alert to external can strongly contribute to the market price, while the supply level is relatively lower at this moment. Then we can make an implication, or we can generate an implication, or we can suggest, okay, maybe the industry could increase this part, or when they build new village in the future. And I mean, this is an application example for how we can use hedonic model. And also, I mean, this is also give you an idea how you may generate your future project. It's like you find the data, analyze the data, produce the results, and then you think about, you may also link back to the practical and generate some practical implications. Okay, then maybe we will have a break after this. Then the second topic I would like to discuss today is the housing affordability. Okay, I think I believe you must be familiar with this term, and it's talked everywhere in the media, newspaper, and even the research, because it's all not only related to the property, to the economy, but also to our everyday life. So what is housing affordability? I mean, it's like usually refers to the relationship between expenditure on housing and household income. So simply speaking, this one is just like this is a relative variable. Okay, so it's like we comparing something about housing, or the cost of housing, and our income. And there are two major approaches measure the housing affordability. One is the ratio measure. So it's like we compare directly the cost on housing against our income. And the second measure is the residue measure. So which is we comparing the non-housing expense against our income. Okay, and then I'll just give you some examples to explain these two measures. First is a price to income ratio. So this is very direct. So we just simply, normally we can use the median house price divided by the household annual income to generate a ratio. So for example, this is what I did for the Australian states and the territories. So we found the median house price in 2019 is 847,000 in Sydney, and then 619,000 in Canberra. And I also found that the average annual household income across the state and the territory in 2018 is certain the listing amounts. Then I can calculate the PI, or the price income ratio, is 14.43 in Sydney, 11.98 in Melbourne, etc. And according to most of the researcher, all the national security institutions, etc., they think this ratio, if this ratio under 3, then we can see, or we can commonly regard the affordability, the housing in that region is affordable. And if it exceeds 6, we will regard this as unaffordable. So according to this scale or this standard, none of the capital cities or region in Australia is affordable. They are all unaffordable or extremely unaffordable in Sydney, in Melbourne. Okay? However, does this, one thing is that the price-income ratio, it reflects affordable level from the micro perspective. And if we think, does it really reflect the affordable? Because if we think about affordability, it is a quite subjective issue. It's like, individual subject feeling. Okay? So this may have some gaps between the affordability, the real affordability, and the statistic results. And one thing, did you find any mistakes or maybe inaccurate or limitation about this research in regard with the data? So one thing is that the data collected, they are from different time period. One thing I use for the media house price is in 2019. That's the latest version. However, in regard to the average annual household income, the latest publication is back to 2018. So this may cause an error in the final results. That is why explanation why the PI ratio is so high in Sydney or in Melbourne. Did you find any more? Another is that the two variable or the two data are collected from different geographic scale or geographic area. So the price is collected from the capital cities. However, the household income is collected from the state and the territory region. So in that case, maybe the income gonna be the income I use, which will be lower than the average annual income in Sydney. The income in New South Wales, average income in New South Wales is maybe lower than the income in Sydney. And also, the house price in Sydney is definitely higher than the median house price across New South Wales. And this is maybe another reason why the results is so high. And then probably we will use other method to adjust this analysis. Maybe we can use the data in the same year, and also maybe we can also collect the house price in the non-capital city or other region in in a state or territories to adjust the media price unused here. Okay, and this is another method we use to indicate the housing affordability, which is called housing cost to income. Okay, so this like just we comparing the money we spent on housing, which includes if you are buying through a mortgage, it's like your mortgage repayment. If you are renting, we use the rent, and also with the property rate we pay annually, like maybe the council rate, and also the corporate rates and the water rate. I mean the water rate, that means we pay for the sewage, not the amount of water we use, not the usage. Okay, and then compare against our annual income. And one example is that in ABS, or the Australian Bureau of Statistics, they have a publication which is called Housing Occupancy and Cost. And the data is looks like this. Okay, and this data is generated by the survey of income and housing, and which is initialized in 1994, and they did it annually until 2000, I think. Then after 2000, they run the survey every 2 years, and the survey covers all the states and territories in Australia. And in the latest survey, they interviewed 14,000 households to collect how much they spent on their housing weekly, which is the weekly housing cost, and also the proportion of income, which is the CI ratio in Australia. So, can you guess why I mentioned this? So this is maybe what you are going to provide for your assignment 1. All right, and definitely you are not doing this data. Okay, you will find your own data and do similar thing, and we will talk about the details in the tutorial. And again, normally we regard if the CI ratio or cost to income ratio is under 30%, we will think, okay, the housing is affordable. Okay. Again, as I said, although this may just reflect how much money you spend for housing, or how much proportion you spend for housing. It does not directly reflect whether you afford or can afford or cannot afford your housing. Okay, maybe for someone they would like to take the pressure on to spend a large proportion of your income to gain the housing or to gain the ownership of a house. Okay, and then what is the maximum proportion you can spend, or maximum capacity you can spend on housing. So this can reflect. This can be reflected by the residual income approach. So it's like this one, conversely to the previous two, they collect how much you spend for non-housing stuff. That is how much you spend for your living. Okay, so that is the amount of money or the proportion of your income you must to spend to survive. Okay, you must spend like maybe $100 a week for your food. Okay, you must spend maybe $30 for your transport to work. Okay, you must spend like maybe $10 per week for the water, for something else, for the electricity or something else. Okay, so this type of indicator, it reflects. Also, it considering the size of household, and it reflects the maximum ability to spend on housing. So, exclude the money you spend on your living or non-housing stuff. The rest is the capacity of you, the capacity that you can spend for your housing. Okay, if you, for example, I earned $500 a week, and I have to spend $400 a week to survive, and what left to me is that only $100 I can spend on my housing. So if I choose to rent a house, probably I can only select or searching around the house whose rent is under $100. And one thing I want to mention about housing, if we are going to do something about affordability, you should think about these three questions. So, affordable to who? It's like what is your target group of people? Are they normal people, or are they low-income people, or maybe students, or maybe senior people, or are they family with children, or family without children, etc. Okay, and then the second one is a housing standard. So it's like how do you define the housing standard in your project? So the housing is like have to the bedroom to people ratio would be 1:1. So like every person in the dwelling should have one bedroom, or maybe two people can share one bedroom, or and what's the ratio for the bathroom, living room area, etc. So this, the standard does impact the affordability. If your standard is higher, maybe the affordability will relatively lower. And again, the last one is for how long? Is that what is your observing, or your the observing period for maybe short term, 1 or 2 months, or for a year period, etc. Okay, think maybe we can have a break and come back in 10 minutes. So 11:50. We can start the second part. excited, so my speaker.
I want to ask about the Hidden model.
Yes.
Do we need to learn how to apply the model?
Yes, we will. We will learn how to use it maybe in the following lectures when we talk about the analysis software. We will show. Niraj and I will guide you how to generate the regression model.
Yeah, because it seems very complicated for me, like very theoretical and abstract.
Yeah,
I don't know. No, I'm my first semester for Master of Property.
Yes.
I was wondering if it's the right level for me yet, or if I have, because I've met many students who are year 2 and stuff.
I think it's okay. I think it's.
I tried the reading material yesterday when you have it on the supplement, and I don't really get that. It's very complicated for me.
Yeah, so it's like, again, that's what is your target, all right? So, the lecture is designed for, the level is designed for even the new student can pass or can get a okay grade, all right? However, if your target is like, okay, I have to get HD for every subject, maybe you can think about.
Yeah.
So, however, if you think, okay, I just want average or maybe pass or maybe a little bit higher than average, I think it's okay. You can continue. That's my suggestion. Okay. And if you just think, oh no, I must get 80 for every of my subject, then it's a little bit harder because you have no background about. What is your background?
I study business administration, but focus on marketing.
Marketing. Oh,
yeah, so it's quite different. Didn't have a lot of background knowledge in finance and all the mathematical.
Yeah, so in that case, that won't be an issue.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure if I have not sufficient knowledge to understand such complicated.
Actually, I just mentioned in the lecture is like you don't have to fully understand the theory. Why I'm mentioning here is just give you an idea. So it's not just a game. It's like, okay, I'll give you this and I'll show you how to use it. So you just at least you know what has happened.
Okay.
Yeah, in the behind. Most of the content in the first 3 lecture will not be assessed. Neither in any of the assessment. Okay.
What kind of lesson will be assessed in the assessment?
It's like the way how you find the data, like the data, and how you find data, how you describe the data, how you critique against the data. Okay. So that's for assignment 1.
Okay.
And why that is also what I just want in the first 3 weeks. You give you some theory or background, so you can critique on the data, criticize on the data. All right. However, even you don't know any of the theory, you may also find data, describe data, and describe the data. From my perspective, it's not a hard topic.
The model is very complicated.
The content will get easier and easier. So the first 3 weeks may be a little bit harder because mostly they are theoretical.
Yes.
So the subject has to be designed for every level of student, right? So most of the content they can be easy understanding for the average level. However, also some content they designed for the maybe a little bit higher level students. So that's that's okay. That's okay. That's good to ask. Good to ask. That's okay. But have you found any classmate, group mates?
Yeah, remember Ricky?
Oh, yes. Yeah, maybe you can. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you can discuss after class. If you find no difficult to complete the assessment, maybe you should continue. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I just.
Yeah.
All right.
Is there like consultation hours just in case, I meet some different...
Consultation, yes. I think as soon as you read an email to me
Okay.
or Niraj,
Okay.
then probably we can discuss. Or I mean, in the tutorial, most of the tutorial we don't have too much speak. We just let you practice and ask us questions. So yes, please maybe attending tutorial is more important than attending the lecture. So because the lecture you can listen on the LMS.
Keep that in mind.
No worries. Hope can help you a little bit. Yes.
Hi, Wisman. How are you?
Good. Yes.
Quick question. The first question is this is the demand and the supply curve.
No.
Is it? No?
No.
But this is a seller line, right?
That's a product seller. No, this is a market.
A market.
That's
line.
the market. That's
see.
the seller line.
This is seller, right?
Yeah, that's the seller line. So it's like, for example, this is how the market
Yeah.
make the decision
Yes.
about the product.
Yes.
And then the seller,
Yeah.
they will decide according to the price. They will
See.
decide how the quantity of the
Understand.
product
Yeah.
they produce.
Okay. I see. Yeah. And how about this? This is the same. This is
That's
market
same.
line.
Yeah, that's the
This is
market.
Also
That's the
you said-
consumer. That's the
the
consumer.
consumer line.
That's the consumer. It's like
different.
so it's like
Okay.
how much of the product we want to buy
Yeah. Okay.
according to the
To the
price.
price.
Yeah.
Market price. Okay. The second question is this table. So I try to explain it.
Yeah.
The bathroom is the contribute to the price.
Yes.
So it's the positive encourage
Yes, that's
encourage the price.
yes.
So and the village bus is negative
Yes.
effect.
Yeah.
But how about the current supply curve? So it means currently the bathroom of the market,
Is
all of the house
two bedroom.
have the bathroom has the roughly 100%.
They all have a
They all
bathroom.
have the bathroom.
Yeah. So
But how about the village? Is the same, right?
Yeah.
It's roughly 60%.
Yes,
They have
yes.
the bus.
yes.
But why you use the units?
that's the one because that's the
This
village size. So village size is not a supply line. It's a supply
So
level.
one unit is the one house, like
No. It's a village size. Because the village is a little bit different from the ordinary house. It's like you have a village
Okay, see.
and how many units.
It's like the farm and a house.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
How many units within the village
Got
or
it.
within the boundary?
Yeah. So what is the practical implication?
It's like based on this one.
Yeah.
What you suggest?
So if you mark the is increased current level, so it means we need to increase the village size or increase
Yes.
the garage.
Yes.
The number of the garage.
Yes, the number of garage.
It's guide us how to make a decision.
Yeah. So it's like maybe we should produce this type of products
Yeah.
to fulfill the demand of the market.
Okay.
So it's like, for example, like outside which one?
On-site
This one.
manager. Call center.
The medical
Medicine, yeah.
alert
Yeah.
is like okay, there are strong desire.
Okay.
Right? Strong desire on the market.
Yeah.
However, the current supply is under 30%.
Yeah.
Right? And also the cost to implement this one is very low. Right? So it's like implement a separate line to each of the units, and then connect to the medical center. So it's like if you have that facility, it could address to majority of the demand, and it will give you maybe a better price or better profit. That's why we strongly recommend the developer to include these items in their future projects or future development. So this just.
But why we have the village bus that is the negative impact on the health?
Yeah, something I could and also I did something. Yeah, I cannot understand. Yeah, a little bit confusing. Yeah, maybe one explanation is that most of the residents they have their own car. I mean, they probably do not need the bus, and most of the return village, they are not for, because this is not aged care. So most of the residents, they have the ability to live independently. They don't like the grouping stuff. So not like, they just reluctant to pay for this kind of service.
So this is a service, not public.
No, the village bus. So within the village, they have buses.
They have to pay to the.
Yes, I mean everything is in the price, right? So it's like they don't care. I don't care. I rather than you not have this kind of service, right? Because I have my own car, I can drive my own car.
So this is latest the figure or not? I mean the latest one? Yeah, latest one.
No, this is just one of my research, my own research.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Yeah, maybe we.
Yeah, can I just suggest if you put the microphone on?
You cannot hear me? Yeah,
no, because like you usually keep it under your.
Oh, it's better.
So if you put
oh, sorry
it
about
here,
that.
better.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your remark. Hello? Does the speaker work? Okay. Maybe we can start and then we can maybe finish a little bit earlier. So again, I mean, one thing I want to highlight this, the lectures, especially in the first 3 weeks, we are mainly focus on the theory or theoretical stuff. Okay, I mean, maybe some of you, if you do not have any background, maybe a little bit hard for you to follow. Again, as the lecture will getting all the content will getting much easier in the following weeks, while we should focusing on the analyze and use of softwares. Okay. However, the first 3 weeks, I mean, I just want to give you an idea about how you develop your thinking. I mean, as an analyst, I mean, you are not just doing some technical stuff. Okay, or especially an analyst in property. So you have to specialize yourself from the normal analyst, right? You use the property perspective to explain and to deal with the data and give the suggestion or give your discussion on data. So that is why I designed the first 3 weeks lectures. So just give you some ideas about the economy, the market, and something about the property and housing. Okay, and while you listen the lectures, maybe you can think about how the theory can be aligned with the theoretical, and I will try to use more examples to illustrate the theory. And in regard to the hedonic model, again, you don't have to go in too deeper about the theory. So long as you know what the story is, that's okay. Okay, so you know, okay, hedonic model is about supply and demand, and supply, how the supply side make the decision, how the demand side makes the decision. That's it. And you don't have to go too much deep on the theory. Of course, if you have interest, you can do by yourself. However, again, in every subject, we have different level of target, right? So if you target a high or the top level, maybe you will spend more of your personal time in regard to getting better understanding of the theory. If not, maybe you can just follow the schedule of the course. Okay, that's all. Then we are going to talk about the data. First, we always talking about data and information. So what is the data? So data, simply speaking, that's a set of value. All right. So maybe we will have a set of value like 321, 567, 18, etc. Okay. And also we can find some values like yes, no, or maybe not available. Right. And also there were other types of value, which is like affordable, unaffordable, strongly affordable, like maybe nearly the end of this semester, you are invited to fill up your student assessment. So it's like maybe whether you like my teaching, like, dislike, or strongly dislike, etc. And then we will find this one. The house has 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and living in a quiet place, etc. So all this, we can regard them as the data, but based on nature, they are different type of data. Okay. So from the top, which is a pure number, they are numerical data. Okay, we just talk about numbers. And then for the yes, no, they are logical data. So we just yes, no, that's and also for these ones is a kind of skill. It's like we decide a skill for a certain assessment. Then we give different levels of the assessment, like your assignment, right? So P, credit, distinction, high distinction. And the bottom one is descriptive data. So it's like which we normally can collect from the interview. So it's like we talked with some professional or specialist about a certain issue, and what the data uncollected is his response and his description about certain issue. And then we will find this one is a quantitative data. And the describe or data is a qualitative. So, and the two in the middle, they can interchange to quantitative data. For example, commonly we use 1 and 0 to indicate yes and no. And for different level of skills, sometimes we use the numbers to indicate the the level of assessment. For example, affordable, maybe 1, unaffordable, -1, strongly unaffordable, -2, etc. Right? And through the coding. And for the qualitative one, again, we have a certain method which called the qualitative data analysis, which we are not going to discuss or much deeper in this lecture. Maybe we'll touch on a little bit in the last week, in the final lecture, because this is really hard and really time-consuming. When the data have a practical meaning, normally it's information, right? So, for example, here we don't know what the number is. However, if we say, okay, they are the distance to CBD, they are kind of information about the distance or the information about location. And also, yes or no is like your working status. So, are you employed or not? And again, the affordability indicates your feeling in regard to the cost of housing. And these are maybe they are how they describe the houses. So, however, in practice, we exchange the data and the information. We don't exactly separate them, these two items, against each other. So normally we say data, we mean information. Sometimes we say information, that we mean data. And according to the, quantitative data, there are major 3 analysis methods. One is a cross-section data, where it's like we have a population. Okay, for example, we are going to examine the chairs. Okay, the chairs or the chairs in the lecture room. That's the population. That's how we define our population. All the chairs in the lecture rooms is our population. It could be in University of Melbourne, in the RMIT, or in La Trobe University, etc. However, if we define our population as chairs in the lecture room in the University of Melbourne, that's another population. So that's first is the population, and we are going to find, or maybe we should we are going to find out what are the defect rates of the chairs in the lecture rooms in the University of Melbourne, right? So probably we cannot do. We may not do check one room by another, or we cannot check every chairs, or we don't have the money to hire people to fulfill the task. What we do is that we select some samples out of the whole population. Maybe we will select 2 lecturers in this building, lecture rooms in this building. We choose another lecture rooms in the buildings maybe in the north part of the university, etc. Or we choose one lecture room like this, the chairs lecture room like this size, or maybe another lecture room designed in, I don't know, maybe another design style. Okay, so it's like we choose some samples from the population, and then we do the research or analysis about the sample or observations to get the results represent the population. Okay, this is what the cross-sectional data analysis is. And in the cross-sectional data, all the chairs, we treat all the chairs equally, or we assume all the chairs, they are independent with each other. For example, the chair in this room is exactly, we assume, right? We assume is exactly the same as the chair in maybe the room next door. There is no difference. We cannot identify a specific chair in the cross-sectional data analysis. However, if we give the chairs a temporary order, or if we give the data a temporary order, for example, the chair, these chairs, they are made in this year, and the chairs was produced in 2018. Then all the chairs, they are not the same anymore. They have an order according to the time, of production. Okay, and that becomes to the time series data. So then the time series data, all the data, they have their order according to the time period. And again, if we give the special coordinator, so like we give the chair, each chair longitude and latitude indicator. For example, if this is the center, all right, this is a 0, and then that chair will maybe 1, 1. This chair is a 1, 2, or the chair in the back might be 8, 1. So those chairs, they are identified according to their special coordinator or their geographic location. Then these types of data is special data. And these are the 3 data we are going to deal with throughout this semester. And today we just give you a briefing about the cross-sectional data. Okay. So again, as I just mentioned, the cross-sectional data is like we have a population. What is the data about? What is the data is going to reflect? And then we collect some samples from the population, and then we do analysis to generate results. That's what we do for the cross-sectional data analysis. And what we should pay attention to while we're doing the cross-sectional data, we should first pay attention to the selection of the sample or selection of all the collection of data. It's like we're trying to collect or select the sample that can completely reflect the population. So in that case, if we, in other words, the samples or the data are collected randomly. So it's like there's no external effects when we choose this chair or the chair in the front or the chair in the back. Okay, there's no subject meaning, effects. Okay, we just try to randomly if I just close my eyes and pick up the samples across the chairs. And then the sample will follow the normal distribution. Okay, if we didn't do that, the distribution of the sample or the distribution of the data will be skewed, either skewed to the left side or the right side. So maybe it just can reflect part of the population. And the second thing, bias that may occur in cross-sectional data, that's compounding bias. It's like, in that case, it's like maybe we are not talking about only a single variable or single items. Okay? Maybe we are talking about 3 items. And we see Z is correlated to X and also correlated to Y. So if we are going to find whether there is any relationship between X and Y, and we collect data from these 2 samples, did not realize this one, so we may get a conclusion that, okay, X may influence Y. But that might not be the truth. X related to Y, the reason why X related to Y is because they both relate to Z. However, if we did not realize this, we may get incorrect or inaccurate results. And another one is the information bias. So the first 2 is all about the data. Okay, so it's like a very objective one, and this one is a little bit about the subjective. Is that if our thinking or the collection is limited by our subjective thinking, or by our subjective observation. If, for example, in the population, if all the observation we can see is all red, we will say, okay, maybe this is red. However, there was something we did not see or we did not observe in the research or in the practice. I mean, that also can cause the bias on the results or the inaccuracy on the analysis. And another one is the about the temporal lags. Okay, so if we say currently when we observe there are 19 green and 19 yellow in the population, our conclusion might be, okay, there are 2 colors. However, maybe there will be one black walls, maybe in the next minute or in tomorrow. So then the results would be 3 colors. So, and in the cross-sectional data, we cannot deal with the effects that come from the temporal lags. I mean, in our future analysis, I mean, we will do a series of tests to limit the effects of the bias. However, some bias we cannot exclude. So that's will be the analysis error in our work. I mean, something we cannot deal with. I mean, none of the analysis is 100% accurate. What we can do, we just try our best to reduce the error term or to reduce the inaccuracy to the minimum. And what we do for analyze the cross-sectional data, normally we do the regression model, which we are going to talk about the details in maybe week 4's lecture with the use of SPSS. Today I just want to give you briefly idea about what the regression model is. For example, assume that we collect those samples from a population, and then we want to find out what's the relationship between y and x. So each point they have a value for y and a value for x. And the common method we do is we run a regression model. The mostly or the most widely used is the linear regression model, which is expressed like this: y equals alpha plus beta times x plus epsilon, which is an error. And also we have a nonlinear regression like this. Then that would be a curve. And in the linear regression model, alpha indicates the intercept of the line. So that means that normally the intercept reflect the average level of the dependent variable. Here, I forgot to see this. The dependent variable is y, and x is the independent variable. Okay, and the alpha is the constant term, and indicates the intercept, and reflect the average level of the dependent variable. And also the coefficient beta is the slope of the line, which indicates the relationship between the dependent variable y and the dependent variable x. So here in this case, the relationship is positive, right? And again, epsilon, or the error term, that is the error term, which indicates the distance, a disturbance from one point to the line. Okay, so how we estimate the linear regression model. Again, the most popular method is the ordinary least square estimation. So OLS, which estimating the annual parameters in a linear regression of a model, with the goal of minimizing the difference between the observed data and the estimated approximation of the data. So here, in this example, okay, so it's like it kind of we got three data in a sample, and we try to find the best line that can reflect the sample. Here we got this line, we got this line here, we got this line here, and for each line we will have an error term. Okay, For example, in the purple line, we got the error term in purple, like this. And then we got an error term for the blue line, like this. Apparently, the blue line, the error based on the blue line is shorter than the distance to the purple line. Then we will choose the blue line as our optimal estimation. So I mean that's how the OLS estimation does. And of course, they are not just make a decision between two lines. They just run the estimation over and over again and try to optimize the distance between each point in the sample to the estimate line. Okay. So normally there are three assumptions. One is zero mean of the error term. So that we assume that the error term are independently identical independently distribution. Okay, and they are follow the normal distribution as well. Therefore, they have the error term, they are zero mean. And they have the constant variance. And all the errors, they do not correlate with each other. That means, for example, here, the distance here, they have no relationship with the distance here. So if the distance getting bigger, gets longer here, maybe the distance in this point meeting the same. Okay, so there is no relationship. They do not. The distance do not. The distance between sorry, what's the say? Yeah, the distance of the error term are not moved together. And sometimes the error term, they correlated with each other. Then what we do, we use a generalized least square, or for the non-constant variance of error terms. Okay, so that is we run the, simply speaking, that is we run the OLS estimation twice. Okay, so we run it again. We run once to collect the error terms, and then based on those error terms, we run again to generate the final estimation. And once we estimate the regression, or we generate the model, we will do some tests to see whether the model best fits the data and whether the estimations are reliable. Normally we have three tests. First, mean squared error. We do the normality test to the error first, see whether the errors they have zero mean, constant variance, etc. And then we will do a R-square test. So it's like this is a number that indicates how well the data fit the statistics model. The higher value, the better does the data fit the model. Or the model fit the data. That is how we estimate the R-square. So this is the original data, okay? And that the estimate data which we generated from the model. And then we, and then we calculate the squared distance between the estimated one to the original one, and see how much is the distance. So, for example, in this example here, that's the average level of y, and that is the original data. We use this one, divide this one to calculate the distance between the original data to the average level, and also we calculate the estimate data, the estimate points to the average level, and then we compare the distance between these two between these two distances, and calculate the and to calculate the R square. See, that's the estimate value, that's the average value, that's the original value, that's the average value. And then we calculate the sum of the distance ratio, or the ratio between this, the ratio of the squared distance. And if the R square is higher, that means the difference between these two data is lower. That means our estimate is close to the original value. That means the model is can produce accurate prediction or estimation. Okay, so R square, not simply speaking, R square test or value reflect the accuracy of the model as a whole. Okay, and also we do some parameter analysis for a single the single coefficient. So we do the t statistic. So what we do in the t statistic is like we assume the coefficient is 0, and then we run the t statistic to see whether the null hypothesis is accepted or not, or rejected. If we rejected the null hypothesis, which normally we use the 5% critical level, then we can see the estimate coefficient is strongly or significantly significant. If not, we will see, okay, the coefficient is not significantly different from 0. That means the estimate beta is not reliable. So it's like we see this is 0. If the results of t statistic located in the right tail or the left tail, we see the coefficient is reliable, or statistically it's significantly different from 0. Otherwise, it is not. And then this picture gives you a general idea how cross-sectional data works. So again, that is first we identify the section, the population, and then we choose the sample, collect the data, then we run the model estimation, and we test the model and make our own discussion and implications. Okay, and again, the advantage of the cross-section data is it's very cheap. And don't have to buy very. You can do it by yourself, and there are lots of data you can use, and innovation. Yeah, so something you can find some new theory maybe from the observations. So and the disadvantage is that it does not take the temporal lags or temporal effects into the analysis. And there are some observing limitation, is that all your research is based on the data you can collect it, or the data you observed. Okay, that's pretty much about today's lecture. And don't worry, I mean, we will go to the detail about the cross-sectional analysis in the following lecture. Okay, today I'll just give you an idea about what it is. Okay, thank you very much, and see you in the tutorial. 稍等一下。
So this is estimated. Stop. So this one is estimated and original, and this one is.
That's the original.
This one is original, and this one.
This one is the average level. That's the large
average.
area. Yeah. So we just compare the estimate, the distance from the estimate one to the average, and the original one to the average. And the original one is the data we collected.
Okay.
The real value. The real value.
But the estimate value is also the data we collected.
No, that's the estimate. That's based on the model. For example, so the dark blue ones, they are the original data, right? And based on the original data, we have this line as a no, that's not the average. That's the estimate. All the points on the line is the estimate value, and the average is here. So it's like we compare the distance here. So it's like from this point, we have. That's not good.
所以我懂了，老师，就是说这些，
你转的太快了。
就是这些 data 是我们自己搜集来的。
对。
然后呢，这是一个他们这些 data 都是沿着这条线线性回归，所以说我们都预计这些 data 其实是在这条线上的，所以这叫 original。
不是
estimate。estimate
对，就是说所有在这线上的点都是 estimate value。
因为我们预计它会都是沿着这条线上的。
对，然后我们就是来比较这个线上的点到，好比说它那个 average value 在这儿。那就所有线上的点到 average 的距离比上这个 original data 到这个线上的距离，然后被一减掉，就是那个 R²。当然，这是个 sum， 就所有的距离比对，
对吧？
对，那是个 sum， square sum， 就是说这是 estimate， 这是所有在线上，这就是说上面这个表示是。 所有在线上的点到 average 的距离的平方，对吧？然后这个呢就是所有的对所有收集的点到 average 的平方，然后它们两个的差，不是它们两个的比，然后被一减就是你的 r square，就是说实际上就是说多少是。